Good afternoon, committee members. It's a couple of minutes after 4, so Chair Watson, whenever you're ready.
Here. This is going to be our last meeting of 2023. I just wanted to say thank you very much to everyone for all of your hard work in 2023. And in the spirit of Thanksgiving, we are very thankful for everything that you do and everything you've done, not just this year, but sort of throughout. And that I know our committee is really acts as an advisor to, to the city, but you're the ones who actually really get everything done. And sometimes I feel like we just sort of come up with things for you to do, but want to let you know that we really appreciate all of your work, and thank you very much. So and thank you to the other members of my committee. Yes. um, so we have if I can open up my agenda. We don't actually have a whole lot of new items on the agenda, but we have a decent amount of things that are sort of continued along, as well as reports from staff on sort of ongoing matters. My agenda is not downloading. Thank you. No, Nick is hooking me up here. The glasses are totally coming in handy. All right. So without further ado, I would like to start with a report from Tony Boyd, our Public Works Director. Thank you. Yeah, see, I normally do this. It's not doing it. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, Jean.
Thank you, Chair Watson. And I'll just start with roll call, which I probably should have started before you began. Before I go ahead with the roll call, I'll mention that Committee Member Charlie Harrington let us know that he would be running late today, but he was still planning to attend if he gets here in time. And also our liaison with the council, Jane Cooper, also said she would be running late.
Jane is in the building. She's just tending to some other matters right now.
Yes, yep, exactly. Roll call. Chair Jenna Watson.
There.
Present. Nicholas Markman.
Present.
Kathy Pearson. And Jean Borden. All right, thank you. So I have a fairly quick report. Our last meeting wasn't that long ago. It's fall, and all of our maintenance revolves around that right now. So irrigation has been turned off for the season. We will be aerating and overseeding the turf areas of the parks in the coming weeks, and get ready for the turf to be prepared for winter. There's just a reminder to residents to clean and check drains at this time of year, because with the leaves falling, drains block easily, and even once they've been cleaned out, they can become blocked again very quickly. The city's vegetation management project on West Shore Road is complete. There's approximately 100 cubic yards of material that was removed from city properties along West Shore Road. The majority of plants removed were Scotch broom and echium.
Great.
So invasive plants. But nothing was pulled out by the roots to preserve the stability of the slope. The fire department had asked for 30 feet from the side of the road to be cleared, but our geotechnical engineer recommended that we don't go that far, depending on how steep the slope was. So it's not an even line from the edge of the road. Still a lot of material was removed. The steepest slopes have been seeded with a native erosion control mix, and in places, jute netting and straw wattles have also been installed.
Excellent.
And welcome, Charlie, committee member Charlie Harrington.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, and sorry.
No, we just got going.
Okay,
Yep.
Yeah.
Quick roundup of tree work. The 3 plum trees that we discussed at the last meeting were removed in Community Park. The liquid amber tree, there's one liquid amber tree in Community Park that was pruned hard. The reason for that is, and as some of the members may know, liquid amber trees have very aggressive roots. And this one is quite close to a concrete pathway through the park. A lot of cities have actually banned liquid amber trees because they cause havoc with sidewalks heaving. We're trying an approach with this one, which may be the first of its kind, probably not, but we're thinking that if we prune the tree heavily, regularly, that it'll put more of its energy into regrowing its leaves and branches than into its roots. And so we might be able to preserve our ADA compliant pathway over there. And we'll see how that goes. Coming up, the redwoods in Community Park are going to be pruned. So they're going to have all the dead wood removed from those. And I believe there's at least one dangler, a branch that's hung up high up in the tree up there. That'll be removed. And then the 4 elms on San Rafael Avenue that have been on the radar for a while are scheduled to be removed sometime in December.
Sorry, and is one of those the one that's really, truly, madly, deeply dead right in front of the big house that just
Yes.
sold?
Yep, exactly. Yep, it's that one, and then 3 more towards City Hall.
Right, that are just mostly dead.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
I
Yeah,
couldn't
easy to
resist.
spot. Yep, and that's it from me.
All right.
Those are removals, not removal and replacements.
Correct. Yeah. So those are in the sidewalk, and it's one of the sort of patches on San Rafael Avenue that doesn't have a concrete sidewalk.
Right.
So we'll be removing the trees and grinding the stumps, and at some point in the future, maybe we'll have a sidewalk there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the issue with that side of the street is that further on down, there's not any space for a sidewalk. So
Right.
you could have sort of a sidewalk to nothing, which is kind of what
Which
they
is
have.
what it is.
Right.
It would just be
A little bit
sidewalk
longer
to nothing.
sidewalk to nothing, right?
Yeah. I believe the city right of way where the sidewalk is completely blocked over there, that the city right of way exists there. And maybe at some point in the future there'll be an opportunity to have that removed and turned into a sidewalk. That would be our hope.
Would be great.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Tony on his report?
What?
All right. I wanted to ask the committee first if we had any questions, but is there any public comment with respect to the report from Tony Boyd? Okay. All right. Why don't we move along to the approval? Oh, yes. Sorry. I now have it up on my, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Jenna, I did have a question.
Oh.
If for the sort of grab bag items for Tony, where we've maybe observed various things, is this an appropriate time to bring those up, or should we wait till later?
So there's a couple of different
Sections. Okay.
where we can talk about it. And then if it's something that we want to, have Tony look into doing further, then we can address it under new business. But if it's
Okay,
anything
mine
more, if
should
it's
be-
anything more serious, then we should have to agendize that for.
Okay, this is just a comment on Community Park, so.
All right, go for
Should I
it.
do it now? Okay. I don't mean to be like a tattletale on some kids doing cool stuff, but there's this new dirt ramp that if you come around the the playground, and as if you're coming up Redwoods on your right, they're going on the sidewalk on the electric bikes and flinging themselves up into San Rafael Ave. And you can kind of see that the grass is like beaten down there. It looks awesome, but it also seems like not an ideal situation.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should put a rock right in front of it to prevent that. Maybe they'll go around it, but I just wanted to raise that as
Yeah.
something I've seen a bunch of kids do on the electric bikes and scooters.
So, that dirt path has been there for a long time, but
Okay.
it's usually on conventional bikes, on the downhill.
Okay.
Because they can't get quite enough speed on normal bikes going up.
Yeah.
So, but one of the things that we added as new business is a discussion of e-bikes.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really good point to bring up of kids doing cool but really dangerous stuff on e-bikes in
Yeah.
our park.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
yes,
Yeah,
anywhere.
and maybe we can bring it up again in the e-bikes
Yeah.
discussion. Yeah.
Right, good. Okay, next order of business is the approval of the September 7th minutes from the meeting.
Motion to approve?
Okay, well, did anyone have any comments or changes to the minutes before Nick decides that they're perfect? Really? Jean? Jean usually marks them up like a Chinese menu. All right, so, good? Okay, good, all right.
My name was misspelled and I didn't look to see if it was fixed, but I believe it was. Yeah. That's what, no problem.
Good. Did they drop your E?
The important issues, but yeah.
Did they drop your E?
The Harrison,
Oh,
and it's all good.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, Nick, would you like to make your motion?
Dying to make the motion to approve.
All right,
Seconded.
great. All in favor of approving the minutes of the September 7th, 2023 special meeting as attached to the agenda?
Aye.
I,
All right. Thank you. All right, we've got a couple items of old business. First is update on the green bins in the playground and the plaque in the playground. The green bins and the plaque of recognition on the little bench outside the playground entrance, they have all been completely installed and look marvelous. My husband was very happy to notice that he had given money to the playground. So, Tony, did you have any other updates with respect to green bins, playground, or otherwise?
No, I think really just that they're complete. And I believe that, and Jane Cooper was at the event when the art was unveiled on the painted bins. But I believe it was very successful, and it's something that the Painted Bins organization is planning to work with us every year to do again. So, and in fact, they found a couple of extra spaces, so there'll be more art next
Okay,
year
good.
on the bins.
Good, so that way we'll be able to change out the art every year?
Yes, yep, exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great. One thing I wanted to ask about that wasn't specifically here, but I guess it is an upgrade to recreational facilities, is a question about the water bottle filler, water fountain, dog water situation by the tennis courts. I know that we had purchased the fountain itself and we're waiting to get it installed. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. So we've purchased and received the drinking fountain with the help of a grant from Zero Waste Marin. And we've applied to the Belvedere Community Foundation for assistance with funding the installation of the drinking fountain. And we are working with them on some of the details of our application. And hopefully we'll know in the next, but before the end of the year, whether that's been approved.
Great, great. So with the expectation of getting the drinking fountain installed before thirsty season begins in the spring?
Yes,
Good.
absolutely.
Thank you.
I had a tiny green bin comment.
Yes.
They look amazing. I was just thinking for next time when they do the printing, the space for where art can go is maybe it's 18 inches and the art only fills up about 12. So I wonder if they could print it to, because it looks like they've hung a photo in a frame that's too large for it. So just a comment for whenever I don't know how the printing was done, but maybe they could slightly scale it up to sort of fill the allocated space.
Yeah, that's a great comment. We can definitely, that's all sort of facilitated and rolled out by the Painted Bins organization. So yeah, it's great feedback we can give them.
But yeah, it looks great. My daughter loves them. Just been very happy, like pointing out the planets on some of them. So thank you.
Cool. All right. Number 5 in old business is trees. And one of the things that we wanted to discuss is the tree planting opportunities at Community Park. I know that Nick had pointed out the circle of dirt that seemed to be crying out for a tree, as well as, oh, yep, there we are. Yep. As well as the empty spot near the corner of the playground that used to have a tree and is treed no longer. And I know that the Hadley Building Company had reached out to the city a while ago about potentially planting a tree in his honor. And I didn't know if there had been follow-up with that, or if this could be a good place for a Hadley tree.
There's, I think off the bat, it's definitely a good spot for a tree. It I've walked past it, so many times since I've been here, and it didn't occur to me that there's a missing tree there. But once it's pointed out, it's like, yeah, where's the tree? So yeah, I definitely think a tree should go in there. And plaques, well, commemorations and plaques on trees can be a little tricky. Trees, sometimes they die, sometimes they, there are problems with kind of different problems with trees out of our control. So they're not always the best objects to commemorate someone with, but we can certainly work with them. And if that's something that they really want, if they do want a tree instead of a bench or picnic table or something, then I think that would be ideal. So maybe what I can do is at the next meeting provide some species options to take a look at and discuss, and we can go from there.
That would be great. Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, that would be great to get your input, because it looks like there might be some issues with the roots and also with things dropping in the playground area and maintenance issues.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe an evergreen would work better, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I will take all of that into account, and yeah, we can discuss the different options.
Right. As I recall, the tree that was there was a mirror of the tree on the other corner, which I don't know what kind it is, but my son used to like to climb it a lot. So, but I
That's another factor, sturdy branches.
Indeed, but I agree with Jean that potentially an evergreen that is unclimbable might be a better option on the theme.
That sounds like a challenge.
On the theme of young people doing stupid things.
Was there also, not sure if there's another slide, but also there's the tree well, the circular, 8-foot diagram,
Mm-hmm.
just off screen here. I don't know, there seems to be a lot of tree coverage in there. I'm not sure what that's originally for.
Yeah, that's I don't think we do have a picture of that, unfortunately, but I believe it was, no, actually, sorry, I'm just remembering now that apparently there was maybe a planting there of lavender or some kind of low-growing bush. It may have originally been intended for a tree, but clearly there's so much that now that the other trees have grown in, there's no room for another tree there. And it's also kind of with the picnic tables there, it's an open area. So yeah, it wouldn't be a good spot for a tree at this
I mean,
point.
would there be an opportunity for pavers or, it's a high traffic area, it's muddy. right-
Yes.
Literally right in the middle. So I agree with everything. I've looked at the canopy and there's very little sunlight, but also high foot traffic.
Yeah, 100%. I think that would be a very good a route to take. I think it would improve the whole area and
Right.
obviously remove that tripping hazard as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Yeah, and so we can, if the committee would like to give us direction to do that, we'll go ahead and fill that in.
All right, good. So I'd like to make a motion to fill in the empty tree well with concrete.
Yeah, I guess not to be overly picky here, but is there a concrete, pavers, asphalt, some of those things I think would be
I mean, it's.
better received
yeah.
than others.
Right.
So what
Yeah.
does fill it in mean, I
I-
guess?
Yeah.
I mean, it's surrounded by concrete.
Yeah.
So I think if we fill it in with concrete, it would just sort of look like a larger concrete area. Wouldn't look as pretty as pavers, but it's round and pavers don't like round things.
Yeah, I mean, we would probably aim to match the surrounding concrete, and maybe Chris might maybe get your take on this, but with sidewalks, if there's a lot of work to be done, if there's enough work to be done, you typically replace a whole panel at a time so that it's an even replacement and it fits in with the others. And we could possibly look at finding where the seams are around this tree well, and replace that whole section. Yeah.
Do we have a picture of what we're talking about? I'm
Oh.
having a hard time
Yeah, hold on.
imagining it.
It's right there, but I'm.
Yeah, Nick has a nice photo of it.
It's in birthday spot number 1.
Yeah.
I think it
Okay.
is, I think it is in birthday spot.
Oh, I
number
see
one.
that. Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah, I think it'd be those two big panels on each side, so substantially more concrete, but I think it'd look a lot better in the long term.
I have an alternate suggestion.
Mhm.
We were just traveling this summer. We were in Berlin, and there was this really cool park where they had this little bouncy thing for kids. So it was like a trampoline permanently built into the ground at the playground. And I don't know if that's great next to other concrete, but it could be awesome.
I
Yeah,
love it. I'm gonna show you the location a little better because I
Yeah.
don't think it.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't. I know there's concrete all around there, and it's
Yeah, and
it's
it's-
birthday zone number 1.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
birthday zone number 1.
Just if we could keep those bouncy things in mind, those things are great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's yeah, there's a lot of rules around playgrounds and
Yeah.
play structures, and so probably be something for the playground area.
Okay.
But yeah, it's always great to kind of think about what else might be possible.
Yes, no, it makes sense. Makes sense. Or jump off the table onto that thing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I withdraw the suggestion.
Not for there, but I think it would be great someplace else. in the
I have
middle.
another suggestion. When we do a plant, I noticed in the gazebo in the park, there's a bell in the center. And I don't know if it's ever been rung or what the history there is, but it'd be great when we do cool stuff like plant a tree. We should ring the bell.
We should totally ring the
We
bell.
should go after this meeting and see what it sounds like. I'm serious.
I never
I couldn't
noticed there
reach
was a
the,
bell.
someone needs to go on someone's shoulders because I couldn't reach the little string. We're looking over here.
Yeah, you're.
Okay. Okay, I think that'd be fun.
Roger Felton probably knows the history of the bell. 'cause I
Yes.
think he designed the gazebo
Okay.
or was instrumental in creating it.
Yeah.
And I think, I think his this jumping thing also sounds like a good thing to keep in mind, but it'd be better in the middle of a grassy area. There are some grassy areas there going on.
Yeah. Cool.
But this one, the concrete sounds better because it will just blend. It's the question of blending in. I mean, usually people like pavers because it means that the water can get through to irrigate the surrounding plants, but I don't think it will look very good.
Guys, are we okay with concrete?
I think it's great. I think we should look at replacing the full panels. So
Yeah.
so it looks natural.
Right, yeah.
Naturally, unnaturally concrete. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's never, it's extremely difficult to get concrete to match new versus old with all the color.
But
Work.
it will look dirty soon enough.
Yep.
Yeah, I've had replacements done at my house for various, due to underground repairs and things, and they use the same company the city uses. And when they first put it in, you can tell it stands out a little, but within a year, it all blends in. They do a great job.
Yep, and they do a good job, Van Medi. Yep, we're very happy with them.
All right. Do we want to make a motion to direct the city to replace the panel of the empty tree well with concrete that matches the surrounding?
I could make a motion. I would make a motion that the city fill in the area of the empty tree well with concrete that is intended to match the surrounding concrete.
Great, I will second. All in favor?
I
All right, excellent, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. And then the next thing on trees is the 2020 tree survey, which Anne Marie so marvelously led, needs to be sort of updated for today. I know that the city has done a lot of work in terms of either pruning or removing dead and dying trees and encouraging homeowners to do the same. But Kathy and I were we are the tree committee, not technically the dead and dying trees committee. We're just the tree committee. We are going to meet in soon. Oh, okay. But we're going to meet to discuss updating the survey, just with respect to the dead and dying trees. A lot more was done with respect to the TVV survey that had invasive plants and blockages of views and all kinds of things, because all of us were just walking around the island in 2020 looking at things and not going anywhere else. But Tony, we wanted to also coordinate with you and the staff, because I know that you have a list of trees that you know that have been taken down or remediated.
Yes, yeah, and I can provide that to you. Off the bat, I know that in the last meeting, committee member Nick Markman was nominated to be sort of the tree liaison with me and sort of tree work. So maybe if you like, you could maybe consider including him in the committee, subcommittee.
as you wish.
Yes. Since you are the tree czar.
Yeah. We're happy to join.
Yeah, it's quite a comprehensive.
We need to keep our subcommittees at two. Since the
Oh, is that
city
right?
council made this committee smaller.
Okay, yeah, okay. Thank you for
That's right, because
pointing that
we
out.
can't be over a majority of the overall
right.
committee.
Quorum,
Okay,
so you can't have three. Right.
Okay, yep, so, yeah, ignore my comment there. Yeah, it's quite a comprehensive document, that survey. And ideally, we would have been working for the last few years, updating it as we go with all the removals and the work that's been done. But oftentimes, especially in winter and around winter, tree work is reactive, with every storm system that comes in. So it's not always planned out. But yeah, be very happy to work with you to update that survey.
Great, thank you. Charlie, do you have a copy of the TDD survey that was done in 2020?
I think it may have been emailed to me,
Okay.
but I admittedly haven't gone through it yet.
No, it's,
Okay.
it's a, as Tony just said, it's
Need to get a
it-
good
it's a
cup of tea and
it's a considerable
focus.
document
Yeah.
that has lots of really great information about problem vegetation all over our city.
that's great. Yeah, I was wondering if we're revising it to what extent we've been using like some apps that may be able to identify things. There's probably in the last 3 years, there may have been some new apps that could identify a tree, or I know I use it for spiders at my house, but just a suggestion for the tree subcommittee to look into.
Yeah,
An
there
app.
are, because I have some friends I walk with and go, what is this? And
Yeah.
somebody gets out their phone and.
But yeah, I should go through that. I will go
it's
through that.
pretty good.
Yeah, that is very cool. If you have any suggestions of apps, because I am somewhat of a Luddite, that would be great.
Yeah, actually, I'll do it now.
Suggestions of it. Oh,
Like
I'm
the-
not sure what it's.
Picture
I'll see if
this.
I can find
Picture
out.
this. I'll show it to you.
Oh, yeah, that sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I don't have it on my phone.
Okay. Anyway, so so Kathy and I, the Dead and Dying Tree Committee, sorry, we're not dead and dying, the trees are. We were going to update the survey with respect to the trees, with a goal to having that in our January report. So that's the goal on that.
Thank you.
All right. Next thing in old.
I'm sorry, I have a tree thing.
Sure.
I feel as if we have a lot of commentary about like invasive animals that we don't like, but sometimes there are animals we do want. And I wonder if that factors into some of like the tree things. I was just on a run last night on one side of the island, and I heard a bunch of owls and things like that. And I wonder, maybe it's not this committee, but who is like, is there anyone looking into like, oh, how are the animals we like doing? And is there anything we can do to encourage friendly animals or good animals like those, great horned owls and things like that?
The Audubon Society at the other end of
Yeah.
the bay is huge for that. If you
Okay.
want to get a list of habitat
Yeah.
or anything like
Yeah, but-
Our committee once did consult with the group that distributes the owl boxes, which
Yeah.
are only about like so. 'Cause I live on Belvedere Avenue and I
Yeah.
mean, I still hear them, but I've seen these great horned and they
Yeah.
would never fit in there. I
Yeah,
mean,
no.
they're big.
Yeah.
I mean, so we did explore that. And there were various reasons why we didn't go forward with getting these owl boxes.
No, I think owl boxes so we actually have a bat box in our yard, which the bats drive our cats insane, but they're really cool. You see them like sort of flitting around at night,
Yeah.
eating all the non-existent bugs.
I mean, we could revisit
Yeah.
what the owl box people and have them do a presentation for public areas. I mean, there's lots of trees in Tom Price Park and here, well, there's a lot of trees, we know.
Right. And, we also have
Put
Centennial
that in
Park.
our future.
Yeah, I think,
agenda.
I think it'd be really fun too, especially if we were to open it up to the public, like
Yeah,
go on an
yeah, I
owl
will.
walk around the
Okay.
island. Now,
Because I was
no
gonna say,
guarantees you'd
when I
see
was
anything,
there-
but that could get people interested in looking at the trees if there's something else to look at other than trees like owls.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe we could host the Audubon Society doing an owl walk put on
That
by the
sounds
park. I think it'd be just kind of nice. And then you could
I do too.
drum up interest in the updated trees report as a result of that.
I mean, I usually hear them right around twilight, and when I
Mhm.
did see the one that with the two babies, which was a couple years ago, it was in that pine tree behind that huge piece of property that people keep redesigning houses for, on the tree which broke, which now you just see.
Yeah.
So that wasn't anybody's doing, it just
Yeah.
broke.
Regarding owl boxes, so one thing, it came to mind that the consultant that the city has for coyotes has mentioned that there are quite a few rats in certain areas. And Jenna just pointed out to me that Jane, just pointed out to me that that she's not just a coyote expert, but also a wildlife expert. And so if we were to look at owl boxes, not just to improve habitat in general for owls, but also as something that's related to coyotes,
Yeah.
I think that could be
That is
very
great.
constructive.
Oh, yeah, especially down the lagoon. Yeah, there's,
They eat the rats.
yeah, oh, yeah. I love
Maybe-
that idea. Why don't we add that as new business for?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
that sounds great.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and then you also need to sometimes include a public education on not using
Oh, yeah.
rat eradication, which is.
Yeah.
Not using pesticides.
There's certain ones you
Rodenticides.
can use and certain ones you can't use, so.
You can use owls and cats and, yeah.
Yeah.
Eats it. The owl dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot to discuss, definitely.
Yeah, and Rebecca definitely, she's gonna be here this
Mhm.
weekend. And she's visiting a couple of people's homes that had questions about protection against coyote, but, you know, if you wanted to talk to her while she's here or whatever, anybody, she's.
Oh, that would be
she's hired
great.
By the city for any wildlife to share.
That sounds great. That sounds great.
If you read your newsletter tomorrow when you get it, her email and the hotline phone number in there, you can contact her to make a little plug. Make sure you're all getting your newsletter.
I always like having guest speakers at our meetings because as exciting as we are, it's always, you know, fun to hear someone else speaking and educating us as well.
Yeah, we can put that in for future items.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie.
Lives
That's good.
in, She just lives outside of Santa Cruz,
Mm.
down there. It's not, she'll come up and spend the night and be happy to participate anytime.
And just so I understand, this was a topic from a few years back and it was passed on for one reason or another, but we're not sure why.
The small owl boxes was a topic a few years back, and for some reason, we ended up not approving it, or the small owl box people didn't approve us. Can't remember how it all worked out, but it didn't happen for some reason.
Yeah, our bat box is larger, but the holes are smaller. Yeah, I like a bat box. All right, anything else on trees, guys? Trees,
Oh, tree service. Still up here.
yes, all right. All right,
Owls live in trees, that's how we got.
yes. It's all about,
It's a change.
it's about making our trees more exciting. more compelling. All right, community park. We have a couple of updates, and we wanted to bring up an idea for additional seating. But Tony, do you want to talk about the railing repair?
Yep, very briefly.
Mhm.
The timing worked out quite well for us after our last meeting. We were able to have a contractor that was already working on Pagoda Lane take a look at this project and give us a price. And we were able to go to the Belvedere Community Foundation and apply for a grant. And they paid for 50% of the cost of this repair. And the contractor was able to move on to this and do the repair. So it's always nice to be able to kind of get things done in a timely way. And yeah, this one worked out. Yeah, that's the railing repair over there. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, because this looks like the same type of railing that they have on Pagoda Lane. Mhm. All right. And then the idea that was brought up, actually, I believe it was by City Council Member Cooper, correct? Oh, oh, to have to pursue additional seating in Community Park. Community Park, as most of us know, is a haven for families, for children, and there's not really good options for sort of sitting, relaxing, and hanging out other than right next to the playground or right next to the basketball court. So for people who wanted to enjoy the park as in more quieter ways, this bench that's currently underneath the redwood trees at the north end of the park is really sort of the only option. There's also seating, I believe, in the gazebo, but it's benches that don't have backs, or that are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct. There's two
Yeah.
benches of the 8 sides in the gazebo, 2 of them are benches.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, I
And
wouldn't.
I think
Yeah.
there's a bench on that, one bench similar to this. one.
Yes. Yes. So. Yeah. No, no, which is why I said that the bench under the trees over on the north side is really your only sort of comfortable area.
Do we have extra benches that we pulled from the?
I don't know. Yeah, because there used to be, yeah. So Nick just brought up a good point that after the renovation of the playground, when we installed our new fantastic bench along the side, do we have benches that were taken out of the playground that are available for repositioning?
No, we don't. Yeah. I think we may have 1 or 2 spare benches, and it's possible that they came from the playground. But yeah, I'm not sure if they are those exact ones. But yeah, I believe we have 1 or 2 down in the corporation yard available.
That would be great.
Yep.
I mean, and because if we had 2 benches underneath those trees over on the north side of Community Park, it would sort of create, yeah, there we are. That would create more of a, I'll say, sort of a conversation area. I know there's groups of people who walk around the island, and especially on the lower flat part. So
Yeah, yeah. I think that should be fairly easy to do.
that would be great.
I've had the same thought.
It'd be kind of cool and if we inject some dose of personality into that nook and maybe put a little table with a checkers chessboard or something. And so that can be a place like, oh, you can go play chess in this little random corner too. So that's just one idea of something we could add in addition to the
So,
benches.
yeah, so the park that we used to go to in Washington DC had these sort of concrete, I guess they were like concrete blocks that had two chessboards built into them.
Yeah.
For people to play.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of Washington Square Park in New York. Yeah. That's like iconic. And
Those are pretty, they look cool. Maybe the Belvedere Community Foundation next application cycle.
I don't know why you're looking at me.
I'm just looking down that. I'm just saying that's a good, a nice opportunity versus concrete or wood, to maybe.
yeah. We'll just leave that out in the air for the next meeting, but yeah.
All right, more future items. So at this point, I think I'd like to make a motion to ask the staff to look in the corporation's yard and see if there's extra, unused benches that are there for positioning another one next, by this bench, the north side of the park.
Motion.
Thank you. All in-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
great. All right.
No, it sounds like the Dead and Dying Tree Committee. That would be under their umbrella. No, we're happy to help out with that if you.
Mhm.
I don't know offhand if that one is, bolted down. But-
I don't think it is because I know that people have moved it during concerts in the park.
Right, yeah. So it might be possible to, put one that's, if people wanted to move it to a more comfortable position, that they were able to do that.
Mhm. Mhm. Right, right.
Yeah. Maybe we can start off like that, and if we have, trouble with people running off with it or something, we can bolt it down.
Is Belvedere coming too?
I have a micro park suggestion. Not micro park, but a micro suggestion for the park. Someone mentioned to me that there's no coat or purse hooks in the bathroom stalls in the bathroom at the park. I didn't go to confirm that, so I probably should have, but that might be easy to just, if we could check and screw those in there, that'd be helpful.
Yep, absolutely. And I don't think we even need a motion to,
No.
Yeah.
take a look at
feel
that.
that is a micro
Micro
repair,
suggestion.
a micro repair from
Yeah.
your micro suggestion. Thank
Okay.
you. All right, we're on to the last, well, I guess not quite. What? No. On to my favorite topic, which is lanes. All right, so
Sorry, Chair Watson, just before we move on, I noticed that the seating in the gazebo wasn't spoken about. I know that was,
Oh, no, we just referenced the fact that it's benches that don't have backs. Do we feel like if we put another bench over on the north side, do we feel like we need more seating in the gazebo?
Well,
Yeah. Right, right,
I
yeah.
I agree, and my suggestion was if we feel like there's the need for additional seating, a bench can be under the redwoods outside of the gazebo as well.
Right.
Because I think they do fit in there nicely and they're not imposing when it comes to the layout of the gazebo.
Okay, so leave as is.
Is there a reason that green bench thing is?
I think that's just a mobile feature.
Yeah, I'm guessing that someone had a party there and moved it, because it does move around under the redwoods.
I might suggest we get the benches at the north end, tinker with configuration and then revisit. And maybe between now and then, you can also give us a better report of what the inventory is in the yard.
Yes, yeah, okay,
If we have two, if we have one,
Mhm.
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Right, right. Right, every other one would be a bench. Right, right. Right, so I think the direction right now is not doing anything in the gazebo, seeing what the inventory of benches is and bringing one for the north side.
Got it, thank you.
Okay. All right. All right, we're on to lanes. And I know that we have here, yep. We have here the plan of, for Park Lane. Yep. Tony, you want to take it away?
Yes, as you may have noticed, there is a little pile of papers in front of each of you. And that is just so that you have it and to be aware of it. That is Public Works's application for design review to the Planning Commission. And they are meeting next week, Tuesday. So there were some updates to the plans. Nothing has changed except to sort of put them into a more presentable format. But I know some of the newer members aren't familiar with the stairs and that project. So yeah, this is really just to allow everybody to be on the same page with the application. So that is going to the Planning Commission on Tuesday, and we will hopefully get approval from the commission. After that, we will, pending any appeals, we will file the project with the county clerk for secret purposes. And then after 30 days, if there are no, I think even if there are any appeals or protests, then we'll be able to move forward with the project. And at this point, we'll need to get a structural engineering design, and then after that, we can get quotes.
Great, great.
That's a good question. They were not included as part of this. And they're not really on the radar for this project.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's no tree removals. But it's a good point. And I think before our meeting on Tuesday, we should, be able to know for sure if any pruning is needed out there. Because the idea is that there's a new bench and that it has a nice view of the bay and the bridge. So if we are planning on doing some pruning, we will want to let the Planning Commission know.
Yeah, so if you take a look at photos 4 and 6 in particular on the back of the packet, you can see the trees that are there that would need to be pruned in order to, oh, sorry, I missed one. This one and then that one. When you're looking down, as though you're sitting on the bench. Yeah,
PG&E,
the
yeah.
PG&E. Because,
So-
yeah, PG&E has a trench.
And a point to add that's Jane Cooper's just mentioned to me is funding for this project. So we do have some funding available that's been allocated, but we expect to go to the BCF with a request for funding. And there's also been some commitments, verbal commitments of donations for the bench. So that is what we're expecting to plan for.
And I know that former committee member Chemnitzer was also talking to various people about trying to get donations for the Parkland bench as well.
Yes, yep, yep. He's enthusiastically reminded me of that.
It's much easier when you're on the site, but I mean, I think it's more of limbing and view opening
Mhm,
the bottom, the lower parts of the trees
mhm.
and reducing the brush.
Exactly, like the bigger tree that you see, especially in photo number 4, just below the,
I mean, I don't know if that has to be part of the proposal, it's
yeah.
just regular tree maintenance.
Mhm.
We're not taking any tree out.
No. In fact, a while ago, I had gone to the site with my dog and pretended to sit where the bench was. And I agree with you that, that the tree that's sort of prominent in photo number 4, one of the lower limbs would be taken out, and then other than that, it would just be brush removal for the
Yeah.
really nice view over the Monterey Pine to the Golden Gate Bridge.
Can we keep the old sign or give the old sign to the Landmark Society? I just feel like with the Golden Gate sign, it's like, it feels a little bit more modern, whereas I kind of appreciate the painted ones a little bit more. And maybe to like restore the old
Oh,
sign.
yeah,
Yeah, that'll stay on the
the
side.
signs are gonna stay.
Okay, I was thinking when they, years back when Golden Gate got renamed and redone, the sign looks different.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make sure this one's,
Well, yeah, so
Yeah, good.
Golden Gate's a brand new lane, but the fellow who paints the signs, Roger
Yeah.
Felton.
Roger
yeah.
Felton again.
oh,
Yes.
I gotta
He-
meet him.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he painted the new Golden Gate Bridge sign, but he did it in a I guess a like printed in a digital way, so
Okay,
that it wouldn't fade and chip and crack like his old signs, which apparently need routine maintenance.
understood. Okay.
So
Yeah, and I think there was also a name change there, right? I think those were maybe used to be called eucalyptus steps, and were changed to Golden Gate.
Correct. There
Yeah.
was never a lane or, I mean, there was no sign there before that.
And I have another suggestion, which is when this is completed, we could have a slinky contest going down to commemorate that.
Ring the bell.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you can ring the bell, get your slinkies in the little park bench thing, go up and take the slinkies down. So that'd be fun.
Sounds good.
Slinkies would have a hard time on the ramp part, but yeah.
We all do.
All right.
So thank you, Robert, for
Great.
getting this.
Thank you.
All put together.
Mhm.
It's faster compared to some projects in the past. so
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
I'm Robert, sorry, Tony. Excuse me.
All right, thank you. And I don't think we need to take any action with respect to Parkland right now. All right, and if you could let us know what the result is from the planning commission, that would be
Yes.
great.
Yep, will do.
All right, Pagoda Lane, I think all the repairs are done, correct?
Yep, correct. They're finally done.
Mhm.
And it's a big improvement.
Mhm.
And that was, again, the BCF paid for half of that, the cost of that project.
Mhm.
And so that was for the railings. And then we also recently had a tree crew come over from West Shore, where they were working on West Shore, and they came in and did some clearing of the vegetation around it as well.
No, it looks really, really nice. It looks great. All right, upcoming repairs. I know that we have, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so Chris has put together this amazing presentation for us. And yeah, he'd taken some pictures. So this is a repair that was pointed out to us recently by committee member Harrington. So we'll be taking care of that with the same contractor. We're also going to be doing some metal work on Woodland Lane and Cedar Lane. So this is Cedar Lane. This
Mhm.
wooden
I know.
the wooden handrail is going to be replaced completely and with a matching metal handrail. And once again, BCF have given us some money for that.
It is held together with duct tape.
Does anybody know the history of the Beach Road parapet thing, whatever? It just seems so unique and kind of odd hanging out there. Has it always been that way?
It's a good question.
Can you go back a
Well, no,
couple?
there's a separate one. There's the top.
That's what we
there's
were
the
just
top
looking
of
at, right?
the- of
Yeah,
the
right here.
Allen stairs. And then there's this, which is a little bit farther down the hill. That's just sort of a,
A little hangout area.
yeah.
I was
little
thinking,
balcony.
I have a proposal I want to share today that I don't want to distract from, but I was envisioning down the road, instead of this being enclosed, a nice sloping down ramp to that little beach right there would be an amazing thing down the road. So I would love to know more about this history. I think there's a lot of potential for this little overlook. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know the history of that.
It just seems so like kind of unusual. I
It's so
wasn't sure.
random, yeah.
It seems random, and I think it's a good opportunity as well, but let's get it fixed.
Yes. Yeah, it could be, it could be something having to do with the house at Embarcadero, which is the house that you have to go through the parking lot of the yacht club to get.
I think that little beach down there it intrigues me.
And you
So,
know, it's Belvedere Open Space.
I sure do, yeah. Coyote Beach, that's what I was thinking about calling it. Just kidding.
Is that the beach at the bottom of the Harry B. Allen steps?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
Okay.
yeah, then you have to go left.
Okay.
200 yards or something.
Huh.
And there's considerable beachfront there that's
Yeah.
largely inaccessible.
Huh.
And I feel like this overlook, it's not vertically that high. I could imagine some sort of sloping ramp down to that. And one of the reasons I think this is interesting is Tiburon is doing their big parks discussion with the town, and they're asking the town what they want. And they're talking about like SUP launch pads and things like that. And I was wondering, have we done a survey of like what's missing from our parks and things like that? Because I know what I would like is access to water.
Water. I
And
mean,
we have that. It's every time I walk by it, I was like, oh man, it'd be nice to sit down on that beach.
mhm. We did have a discussion last year or so about when they were redoing the railing on beach roads, or right by the China Cabin, of trying to, you know, imagine that sort of middle space as something else.
Yeah.
But you know, that would be a considerable project. But I would be all for that. You know, I'm a member of the Belvedere Lagoon Society, just so I can keep my.
Oh, same. Yeah. Or I'm on the wait
paddle
list, I
board down
think.
there, So,
Well, and not to get off topic here, but I'll just comment that Artist View is a very similar concept as far as a winding lane down to the water.
Totally.
mhm.
And so just
Yeah.
isn't that a-
Everything. Right,
This one,
right.
but there's too many people down there ready to go.
Yes.
Just an idea, but I think this little nubbin is so weird and awesome. I think there's a lot of potential. Yeah,
Agreed, agreed.
The coyote nubbin.
yeah,
It's kind of weird.
yeah.
I love it.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
All
I
right.
used to get that.
Okay, sorry.
4-year-olds going, oh,
Yeah.
wait, this is
Yeah,
worse.
no. All right, and then we also have, and this is the top of Lower Woodland, correct?
Yes.
Correct, yep. That's a fairly straightforward repair, but
Right.
yeah, that should be done by the same contractor, metal contractor.
Yep. And both of those railing repairs were on our high priority list. So this will be nice to check those off.
They were also on Jan Anderson's list, which was done like 15 years ago. So again, thank you for finally getting.
Yes,
these things
exactly.
done.
In the spirit of Thanksgiving, again, thank you. All right, and we're on to our, anything else on upcoming repairs?
Nope, that's
Nope.
it.
All right, and we are on to our last item of old business, which is appointments. This is you. You would now have the floor. No, you're not saying goodbye yet. We're publicizing the fact that there's going to be opportunities for community members to join our fantastic Parks, Open Spaces and Lanes Committee. And so to the extent that you know of people who could be interested and would be assets to the committee, keep it in mind, because we're going to be having 2 positions that are going to come up on the committee in 2024.
Yes, and I think technically it's the end of May, I believe is the way they used
That's
to
it,
be
yep.
set out when we were appointed.
Mhm.
So if you know people who are interested, let them know, because it'd be nice if they were in place by the July meeting.
Right, right. And I'll be staying on the committee, but I will be stepping back as chair. So if either of you 2 fine gentlemen would like the crown, the responsibility and the glory of being the chairperson of the Parks, Open Spaces and Lanes
Traditionally
Committee,
settled by rock, paper, scissors, I'm sure. Yeah.
then also, let your intentions be known. So,
Well, thank you for your service. I would love a farewell address, like a George Washington style.
no, they're not going.
Not
to
now, I
Georgia.
mean, in the future, just, things you're proud of. Well, we can do that too.
Yeah, you're gonna get flowers.
What's
and
the
there'll be
unfinished
wine and
business?
cookies
I want to
and-
know.
Usually I just have some Prosecco and everyone goes away.
Yes, yeah, then we
That works too.
send you up. So we have our next meeting
Next meeting will be in January,
in January.
and
then-
then the following one will be in April, I
Yeah,
believe
so
it is.
So April will be your last meeting. And that's when we get to drink, yes, so. I think that's probably a good idea. Mhm. Yeah, I wanted to bring it up at this meeting just because it's our last meeting of the year, and before we know it, it'll be 6 months later, so. And we've really enjoyed our new members.
Can I step out for 1 minute? Apparently I can find out if it's a boy or girl.
Oh,
So I just want to do that
wow.
real quick.
That's fantastic.
I'm gonna go out this random door real quick.
Okay. Well, his wife is expecting.
Oh, I thought there was a birthday happening. I'm like, why is he here?
No. Ultrasound. Yeah, ultrasound appointments. All right. Okay. So at this point, I am going to call and see if there's any public comment. on any of the items of old business that we've discussed, that are items number 4 through 8 on our agenda? Okay. Great. All right. At this point, we are going to skip over Charlie Harrington's Centennial Park discussion and move on to the tennis courts. Two of the things that's, well, I guess one of the things that we had brought up at our last meeting was floating the idea of having a porta potty on the, let's see if I get this right, on the side of the tennis courts that's closer to town, pretty much adjacent to that small parking lot for easy access for maintenance. And also it's a little bit farther away from the pathway and Tom Price Park, but still accessible from the, do you want to tell us, or? Yay!
We have a girl.
Okay. Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations.
Wow. Okay. Really focused on the matters at hand.
That's awesome. Good.
Another playground player. so-
Yeah.
so-
All right, do you want to go straight into Centennial Park, or
Yeah,
are you
fine.
you feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm
All
ready.
right.
Should I go to the podium? I can do it and click, or can I click with this? Yeah. Okay.
Once Christina's got it set up, you'll be able to
Thank
click
you.
through.
Maybe I feel maybe I should stand. So I had fun making slides.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So I noticed on our annual plan that there were some repairs for Centennial Park that were in the works. And having gone through Centennial Park, frankly, I was surprised that it was deemed a park in many respects. So I had a couple of problems I identified here. Like I just said, the stairs need to be replaced and repaired. Problem number 2, there's very few slides in Belvedere. That's a problem that I consider to be a problem, as well as does my 2.5-year-old. And Jenny, you're nodding. Seems like you agree. And then problem 3, what is Centennial Park? So I thought I'd address these in reverse order. So parks in Belvedere, depending on where you look, it'll tell you we have a different number of parks. So there's this visitors map from a while back that has, looks like it has 5 different parks, maybe 6. I don't know why I wrote 5. It's clearly 6 in that list. And then if you look at our website, our brand new website, it says 2. So it's a little bit unclear what is Centennial Park. If you look on this, it's that little strip down there. It's kind of an expanded version of a lane.
It's a fat lane.
It's a fat lane, exactly. So I went through a stroll through here. I think we can do better here. And I don't think it'll take much to make this an interesting place for our community. So I was curious about the real story of Centennial Park. There's this plaque, the Harris and Don family. I wanted to find out who they were. So I spent some time with Jennifer Hartung in the Landmark Society, which is awesome. This is a GIF of, it's supposed to be moving of Indiana Jones when they're putting the Ark of the Covenant. So I sort of felt like that when I was in the Landmark Society. I would love to spend more time in there. And I was able to find, or she was able to find for me, tons of stuffs on parks and lanes, which is really cool. I have it all photographed if anyone wants to look at it. But of course, there was one about Centennial Park, and it looked like, without going really into the history, there was some contention over building in that space, and the 2 local neighbors were able to find a way to work with the city to save that space for Belvedere. And they were able to make nice donations, the 2 adjacent neighbors, and you're nodding, maybe that's something you're well aware of. Okay. And this article, the mayor and others call this a secret garden for Belvedere's first 100 years. That's why it's named Centennial Park, supported by the neighbors. And the mayor called it a remarkable and wonderful gift for the citizens of Belvedere. And it is. And like I said earlier, I think we can do a little bit better here than what it currently stands to look like. Okay, so problem number 2, the lack of slides. I'm largely inspired by this by my time in San Francisco. In San Francisco, my wife and I would go for morning runs through Golden Gate Park. When we moved to Noe, we started running to Bernal Hill. Bernal Hill, obviously, it's a nice uphill climb, very similar to Belvedere and Tiburon runs. And we were lucky enough to stumble upon this, the Esmeralda Slide Park of Bernal Heights. This was installed in the late 70s. You can see late senator enjoying the inaugural ride down the slides. It was created by a strong neighborhood movement. These slides are awesome. My wife Carly and I would go down them every single Monday. You fly down them, and what's nice is they're sort of hidden secrets. They're not this like broad attraction. It's sort of like local neighbors know about this and love it, and it's just a really charming way to, I think, give respect to the hilly nature of the Bernal Hill community. Picturesque, lush, it makes you feel like a child. I would encourage everyone to, if you're driving through the city, to go check them out. They're amazing. A couple years back, the slides were, the surrounding area was falling into disrepair, and the community banded together and they were able to revive the park. They put in some beautiful planters. What's kind of stunning to me is that while the greenery kind of faded away, the slides themselves seem pretty resilient. These look like the same slides that they've had the whole time. So I think that speaks to the investment they made for something that can stand, 50 plus years. And local folks who are like fixing them, these are people who live nearby. They call these things kick-ass, and I think they are. So if that's, I wanted to make sure that's not the only bit of inspiration. So in Castro, right above Castro, there's the Seaward Park slides, and these are concrete slides, also pretty obscure, super fun. People have a lot of time going down them, surrounded by charming community garden. So these were largely my inspiration. Belvedere, I love.
Are these the ones you go down in a box?
Or like a piece of cardboard?
Yeah. Okay.
Have you
Got
done those?
My kids have.
Okay. Yeah, they're great. I mean, and it looks like these slides were designed by a 14-year-old girl. Hopefully it was checked by some safety standards, but yeah, they're super fun. Yeah, they're great. Again, charming, fun, I think paying respect and making the community really, really awesome. So my suggestion here is, what if we were to put a slide in Centennial Park on that fat lane that is Centennial Park? Why would we do it? To honor the remarkable and wonderful gift that this park represents from the Harris and Don families to Belvedere. I'd love to be able to create a special space for the next centuries of memories and fun and magic. I think the park's begging for one. And we're not talking about installing a full playground here. I think we can largely keep the entire space as is. And I have a very low budget mock-up of what I think this could look like coming next, largely from memory. And I think there's actually space for 2 slides, 25 to 28 feet each, kind of coming down from Bella Vista. You've got that pretty steep part initially. I'm thinking no slide right there, but when you kind of come around the curve, there's a little bit of a tree on the left. I think a slide could go to the right of that tree stump or tree. And then there's another flat area with a bench, and I could see a second slide going down there. And of course, we could do 1. I think 2 would be kind of cool because that would be 1 more than
You can race.
you could race. Yeah, there's a lot of potential here, and I tried to think about this in a way that wouldn't really disrupt the current flow of the stairs themselves. Very rough sketch here. So I have done very preliminary research on Google for what this sort of stuff would cost. It seems like the phrase here is embankment slide. And you could spend a lot of time looking at really amazing slides on Google for various hills. Also a fun thing to do. I have no idea the verifiability of this website, but this looks like, hey, here's a roughly 28 foot slide that's looking like $12,000, $13,000 for this stainless steel version. So I don't know if we probably would want to discuss, do we want stainless steel? I think that's perhaps more expensive, but really durable. We could do concrete. If we're talking 2 slides, it could be double that price. So I think obviously some thought would have to go in if the committee thinks this is something worth pursuing into what a real budget might look like. I'm not sure how vendor outreach really works with the town, so I'd love guidance on that. This is my, again, very high level budget. So I said around 60K for slides, installation possibly on top of that. If we wanted to do a little bit more on the planter and plant side, I feel like a little tender loving care in that area could help. It does feel fairly brushy right now. And that could be something where it becomes an event like they did in Bernal, where people are, communities coming out, we have coffee and donuts and stuff, and people are planting and kids are there. I think that could be really fun. And then possibly there's ongoing expenses. I don't know what, slides would be on top of stairs for like city insurance, if that were a thing that needed to be discussed. And then if there was irrigation or other maintenance, obviously that might be a factor, but that may already be something that's factored into Centennial Park right now that I'm just not aware of. So that's something I'd love to learn a little bit more about. In terms of funding sources, these are the names you might expect to see here. Private individuals, BCF. I'm planning on doing my fun run again this year in February, so that could get a small amount. But I think if we have something to work towards, that could inspire people. And potentially there's already the city allocated funds that were going towards some of the parks and repairs that might be allocated towards this. And then maybe we could get other organizations involved. I have no idea if there's like local downtown businesses that might be inspired to have be associated with putting in something fun here. So these are my thoughts on next steps: review the proposal here, solidify plans, design budget, kick off community feedback, fundraising, work with the city, and have fun along the way. Maybe some fact-finding missions to Bernal Hill, as I said. But that's what I wanted to present. I'd love to open it up for discussion. I can also return to my seat. So
Thank you.
Thank you. That was great.
Yeah, this looks super fun. So our committee has been talking about Centennial Park since long before I joined the committee, and it has been a topic of conversation for a really long time, because you're absolutely right. Like it is a great gift that the city has. It is unlike Artist View. It's already somewhat built out. It's accessible. It's in the well, not quite in the middle of the island, but it's sort of in the middle of the island. It's completely underused, somewhat overgrown, and lately there have been a number of pruning and sort of vegetation mitigation matters, but it's otherwise sort of a fat lane.
yeah,
So I think this looks super cool. And I can tell you a 13-year-old and 15-year-old who will happily be test subjects if you need slightly larger ones. I do want to, ask, I don't want to get more lawyers involved. I think we have, well, you two are not lawyers, right?
I'm not.
Okay, so we have three. We only have three.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
You're a lawyer.
Oh,
Yes.
too bad.
I have every expectation that there would need to be education, outreach, cajoling, and potentially coffee for the neighbors. And, depending on whether the neighbors have kids or not, that, their opinions could be, but I think it would probably be at least the neighbors on either side. The neighbors sort of across Bella Vista is far up the hill.
I think on the southern side, it's a young family who might have just moved there. And that's one of the reasons I looked at the history. I thought it was interesting that it was the two adjacent neighbors that worked
Right.
to sort of dedicate the park. And I think I was trying to draw on that inspiration and memory for why this could be something that, the new neighbors there would be able to contribute to in some way, even if it's just giving their support for it.
Yeah,
'Cause
because I think it's fantastic. Just in the order of your presentation on the history, I have something which I think Nancy from the front desk sent me, and I can't remember why I got it, but I believe it was written by Hillary Dawn. And it's a history of the property, and it goes
Wow.
through all they went through to purchase it, which was not a simple thing.
See that.
It goes into all this detail. I mean, and I'll see if I can just email it to you. I can't remember in what form that I got it. I also think it's great that you have these pictures from San Francisco, because for people who aren't too creative, it lets you say, oh yeah, this really works. I mean, they've done it. You know, no judge has told them to tear it up.
Right.
So I think that's great. I actually like the idea of the 2 slides. I mean, now my grandsons are older, they're 10 and 13, but then when they were younger, I mean, if you have 2 kids, I mean, there are always issues about who goes down first and, you know, having 2 slides, I think is, you know, really a great idea. And we also have had, this committee has had at least a couple community planting projects there. We had one planting project, and things weren't super successful.
Right.
But after that, we had a community cleanup project where actually Kathy ended up playing a central role because not too many people came. She thought she was just in charge of refreshments, but she was in charge of rakes and debris bags.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, the challenge that we have in terms of plantings is that we don't have irrigation. And that, you know, obviously anything that you plant needs to have water at least until it gets established. And so that's sort of like the biggest challenge, which is why like, when you'll see some sort of random succulents that are there,
Yes.
which is, you know, the last surviving hope from the plantings that were done before.
Right.
I mean, there is precedent for, depends on who the neighbors are at 5 Corners where Golden Gate and Belvedere is, and there's that planting. The neighbors who are directly to the south of it let the city use their faucet to feed the irrigation.
Mhm.
And the neighbors across the street would also let, 'cause my gardener used to go water it sometimes when, you know. So depends who the current owners, the houses have both sold now. Yeah, that one sold, and then the other one sold too.
Mhm. And similarly, in like on the curve of Oak Avenue, the Oak Mini Park, the neighbor who's across the street at One Bella Vista, she waters.
Yeah, I mean, so that there are options like that. It
Yeah.
depends. I mean, everybody's water bill is so high. I think it's a tough sell, but people have been willing to do that.
Chair Watson, I was just, so I think it's an exciting idea. And I think it would face a lot of hurdles. Just thinking about it, you know, irrigation, ADA compliance for a new facility, zoning. I'm not sure what the zoning is out there, CEQA, when something goes in, liability for the city. This might be a very good project for a task force or a subcommittee. And that might be a way to move forward.
I feel like committee member Harrington has volunteered to be on a subcommittee.
I accept. But I guess, Tony, is this something that is realistic in your mind, or is this a moonshot type situation?
I'm kind of an optimistic person.
Yeah.
And when I first thought of this idea, I thought it sounds exciting, but it's not realistic. But I think if it was marketed or framed in a certain way, who knows? So I think it's worth at least investigating a little further.
Okay.
I
Yeah. And-
absolutely do as well. I mean, if you think, you know, Tiburon has its hippie tree. You know, it is I'll call it the dangerous public nuisance
Mm.
that every kid loves to go to. We are a safer town, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a little bit of excitement.
Yeah.
And I do feel like there's a lot of young families here now, and some with growing families. And, you know, and I think it would be really cool. And I do feel like Centennial Park is completely underused, underutilized, and, you know,
Yeah.
this would give people in Belvedere a reason to go.
And the precedent, I know maybe the 70s were different times, but perhaps that could help insofar as, finding frames of reference for how they're able to keep those things going.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the playground structures that were that existed in the 70s no longer exist today. So it's hard to say. But yeah, it's one of these things that's, I think it would be amazing. But I think we should also be realistic that it would be a big change, and it would be big change to that park, and something that the neighbors would notice the most. With more traffic, more people coming there at different times of the day. Questions of liability. Yeah, so there are definitely hurdles ahead, but I think it's worth at least taking a few steps towards.
Yep. I thought about that as well. My observation of the Seaward and the Esmeralda slides is that these are not traversed in the same way that traditional playgrounds are. These are not traditional playgrounds. And I think we already have that sort of public space near private home situation with these public lanes. So I was really trying to frame this in a way that it's augmenting what already exists rather than introducing something completely net new. So I think there's a way you could make it work.
And I always think the neighbors who are now the new neighbors, not the original donors, should be grateful that they're having this as opposed to a 4-story house built out as far as it could go that they would look right at. And now, of course, with a couple accessory units besides. And, I mean, when they bought their house, they knew there was this big public space next to it. I think it's a great idea. And I think, it's really advantageous that these already exist. And I think that's the way to start marketing it, to show people where they are and how they work.
And to be fair, there's already stairs there. So
Right.
people already go up and down through Centennial Park. Yeah, you would have to have stairs next to the slides. The only way down could not be a slide. I mean, my Labrador would find that challenging, so.
Jenna, would you be willing to join the subcommittee with me?
Sure.
Okay,
I will happily
excellent.
test slides.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tony, in terms of next steps, can I start an email with you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, yeah, let's do that.
okay.
And yeah, I can see what I can find, probably speak to the planning director.
Okay.
And yeah, we can go from there.
Because another thought I had was, I know a lot of families and whatnot, and I could have asked them for their opinion on these things, but I didn't want to go about doing a survey without thinking about the proper way to do that. Because, I want to do, if we do a survey, I want to do it the right way. So I want to maybe work on you with a sequence of actions that we could do to really evaluate this.
Yes, yeah, we should. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wonderful. That'd be great.
That's great.
Fantastic.
Do you think they'd be willing to try a slide? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that sounds very cool.
Thank you.
All right. All right, tennis courts. We had, in our last meeting, we had investigated the idea of installing a porta potty on the town side of the Lagoon tennis courts, sort of adjacent to the small parking lot that was there, to make it easier for maintenance, and it would also screen it somewhat from Tom Price Park, would still be accessible from the old rail trail as well as from Lagoon Road. making it easier for people who are using both Tom Price Park, the Old Rail Trail, and the tennis courts to have facilities. Tony, do we have any movement on that?
Yeah, so I do have an update, which is really some context and I think some direction from the city manager and also the mayor. So this isn't the first time that there was a request made for a porta potty. And in the past, there's actually been communication from not formal, but from Town of Tiburon council members to the city to discuss this. The outcome the last time it was discussed, which was actually earlier this year, which I wasn't aware of, but yeah, was that at the time there were summer camps happening and tennis camps, and the thought was that the tennis camps should be providing a porta potty if they have enough people that should justify that. There's no desire from the city of Belvedere to install a permanent bathroom there and maintain it. And so either the tennis camps themselves or the ranch should be responsible for this. But it does open up a bigger question about porta potties, because we do have events here in Community Park that need porta potties. There are enough people, and the city doesn't have any kind of policy around that. There's no when people apply for a permit for an event, there's nothing to say if you have a certain number of people, then you need to provide a porta potty or X number of porta potties for depending on the number of people you have. And so more broadly, a policy on porta potties for events in the city, including camps, is probably a good idea. And although porta potties are temporary, that it seems to me that that's a realistic way to have something like that at the tennis courts, is for summer camps and busy times, and for there to be a plan for those to be maintained, and for a party to be responsible for them.
Okay, so would you recommend that we coordinate with the ranch, because I believe that the tennis camps are run either through Higgins or the ranch, or a combination thereof?
Yes, and I think it's another great subject for a subcommittee, if you think that it's worth going that direction. But yes, I think the ranch would be a good place to start, and then also within the city, some of the events that go on around here, in Community Park, their experiences with these with porta potties and this kind of thing. Yep, and it's something that that again we can meet and discuss, and have some emails about.
Okay. I mean, because I know that we normally, I just sort of think about concerts in the park being sort of the biggest thing that brings the most people to our park, and I don't think we have porta potties for that. Do we find that our normal facilities in the park are overwhelmed during concerts in the park, or?
Not that I'm aware of, no. But I am aware that other cities have policies for events with large numbers of people, and that event organizers have to provide these facilities for depending on the numbers expected.
So right now, that's a city event, that's the largest event. So then the city, if it adopts a new ordinance, the city would be the one. It's hard to imagine an
or I guess
event
there's
larger than that at a community park.
Right.
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 And as far as I know, we don't have any kind of plumbing issues or anything like that. But I also haven't been to any of the days where it's happening, so I don't know if there are lines of people waiting.
It's not bad.
Really.
Depends on.
Yeah.
crowds than others.
Right. Yeah.
I've never seen a problem at the bathrooms during the concerts in the park at all.
Well, that's very good to know, and maybe it's not needed then. But for the park, but it does sound like it might be needed at the tennis courts. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, that's,
Right,
I
'cause-
think it's definitely worth looking at.
Yeah, I mean, because the busiest times of those tennis courts are, there's summer camp during the day, and then during the summer, a lot of people play tennis there at night. And then during the fall and the spring, when it's generally nice weather, you get a lot of people there on the weekends.
Right, yeah, yeah. Yep, but I think, yeah, I think having a discussion with the ranch and having a subcommittee to do that would be a good way to go.
Okay.
Is that parking lot city owned?
Yes, it is, yep.
Okay, because I always sort of thought that Zelensky had some part of it, or I know she lives right across the
Right.
street.
Um,
Wasn't she instrumental in getting that parking lot or something?
She was instrumental in having the landscaping
Oh.
done. There's
Right
between the
across.
parking lot and the street.
mhm.
Right
Yeah.
from her house, yeah. Okay.
Yes,
I wonder
yeah.
how she would feel about a porta potty there.
That's a good question. Yep.
I don't think we need to wonder.
Let's not wonder.
All right. All right. Do we want to form a subcommittee for this, or do you want to just work with me on this, Tony? I mean, if it's just a conversation with the ranch, that's one thing. If we think we need to have a city policy, that's another. Do we feel like there's,
Is what's underlining this just a question of who's going to pay?
No, that is part of it, but I think there's also the fact that it's for neighbors, it could be a sensitive issue. And so I think being able to explore all the different avenues of, you know, how this comes about is important.
Wouldn't it just be a regular design review application? I mean, like we're doing here for the park?
It could be.
Would it go through the planning commission so people you would get neighbors' inputs through that on whether people supported it or didn't support it?
right?
So,
Yes,
And I mean,
there's a considerable, you know, amount of time that goes into a design review application. So
Yeah.
it's, yeah,
or is that not necessary? We could just bring it in?
no, it would definitely need a design review application. I mean, for all the same reasons, for all the same similar questions to do with the slides. Access, you know, ADA access, change of use over there. That's one of the things that the city manager said, was that if you introduce a restroom over there, would that mean that people stay longer? And so would the activities change in and around that area? And these are all questions that would come up in a design review.
Yeah.
But we would want to make sure that by the time we get to a design review, that all of this has been, you know, thought of ahead of time. You know, maybe what we could do, Chair Watson, is we could start out with you and I, you know, moving forward and seeing if a subcommittee is needed.
That sounds good.
And in the interim, which is the best bush for people to pee in? Because people are peeing in the bush if they have to go, right?
As my son tells me repeatedly, yes.
Yeah.
But apparently all young boys do that. He advised against the blackberries for obvious reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear a lot of reasons why it'd be annoying to do that, but you're just gonna have people peeing in the bush as they're doing now, so.
And it would seem like maybe there should be some contact with the ranch.
Yes.
Only advantage of that would be then part of the funds would come channeled in through Tiburon. It wouldn't just be Belvedere.
Right.
Since the ranch is both
Right, it's joint.
You know, both, both civic group, both municipality and town, anyway.
I mean, and.
So that would seem like that should be kind of preliminary to see whether they would support it. And consider it as a, you know, a budget item.
Yeah, I think they would support it. Whether they would have it as a budget item would be a different matter. Yeah, but yeah, that's something we can definitely look at.
Right, and, and to be fair, the courts that are also, sort of managed by the ranch that are over in Tiburon do have a porta potty with a nice sort of lattice screen around it. And it is ADA sized so that you could, you can bring a wheelchair in there.
But there's no houses right around there either.
No, there's no houses across the street. The closest are the condos that are, yeah.
Below.
The irony is it's the wastewater plant.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little farther around, but it's across from the Point Tiburon, but Point Tiburon's way down below those condos.
I mean, it seems like it's kind of a necessity in a civil society that you would provide a place where people could go to the bathroom
Right.
private. And I think it's something that we should support and that the city should support. I mean, people can make their comments known during the design review process. But I mean, I think it's ridiculous that there's not a porta potty there.
I agree.
And did we look at the yacht club facility across the street? I think we discussed that last time, is like, there's a facility there and use of that. And then also we've been talking about budget, and do we have any idea what that is magnitude wise?
So I have not approached the BLPOA, no. But I think, yeah, absolutely. As I said before, I think that's a good idea. Budget really depends on what kind of structure we want. I think at the porta potty itself and the sort of ongoing maintenance of it would be, hundreds of dollars per month. So not a huge amount.
Right.
And the installation and construction of a wooden, lattice work or something around it would, again, it depends on how we would want it to look. So, less than $10,000, off the top of my head. Yeah, I think, and I agree that, in a civil society, that's something that, if you have a facility, where people are going to be spending some time, that at a restroom is a good thing to have.
And to be clear, it's not just the kids who are playing tennis in the camps. There's dog walkers and other people walking down the old rail trail, and people like me who have keys to the courts, and it's not just the Higgins tennis kids.
Yeah. Yeah, and so
Right.
I think,
And right now the closest somewhat accessible bathroom is at the Reed School when the gates are unlocked.
And the school is open.
Right, in the school,
Yeah.
in the school.
I mean, those other tennis courts aren't too far from CVS, so there's kind of an option.
Right.
But these courts, there's not really. And that doesn't solve the problem during the summer.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't solve the problem, period. I mean, I think what we should do is move to direct staff to evaluate what the cost would be to rent a porta potty on a monthly basis. I mean, I've had to rent them up in the mountains after I had a flooding disaster. I can't remember. I mean, up there was like $150 a month or something for the service. And I would think the staff should be able to put together a lattice enclosure. And it doesn't have to be the elaborate porta potty. I mean, it doesn't need hand washing and all of that, I don't think. This would just be the basic porta potty.
Right. I agree. We would want the wheelchair accessible one.
Yes.
I think it would have to be wheelchair accessible. So,
Right.
yeah, there's definitely a few, we'd need to be clear on what we'd want to put over there. Yeah, and, um, we could definitely get prices, costs, put together, and maybe at the next meeting. One thing to add is that this should be definitely added to the report, the committee report, you know, the slide and these kind of things, as something that we're, you know, keeping the council appraised of, or that the committee is keeping the council appraised of for future, because I believe that those projects, I believe it's supposed to be for the next 5 years, the projects in that report and the work in that report. So, yeah, good thing to put onto the radar. You know, as far as funding and,
Yes.
yeah, these things don't always happen overnight.
Right.
I do like broadening it to a Tiburon Belvedere issue, though. I think that point's well taken.
Because I do think that the old rail trail, even though it is technically in Belvedere, is used by everyone on the peninsula.
Yeah, and and it's kind of funny, but the old rail trail is actually in Tiburon, but the line between the you know, where the tennis courts and the trail, there's, I think so there's a little swale or a little trench along the side of the trail, and I think the Belvedere side of that swale is where Belvedere begins.
Right, we have, it's the ditch that's next to Tom Price Park. That, yeah, that's it. That ditch, yeah. No, that everybody leaps over from the trail. That's, and then it sort of runs right next to the old rail trail. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That way Tiburon gets to, you know, keep their railroad status. All right. So in terms of,
So I don't know
motion-
that we need a motion, I think. Just that Robert's going to come, I'm sorry, I keep doing that. Age, I shouldn't be on here anymore. Tony is going to come back with the information.
All right, good?
And to be clear, so that's information on the cost.
Yes, of the monthly rental service, because I think the service is included,
Yep.
of a ADA compliant wheelchair porta potty.
All right.
And probably not just monthly cost, but the upfront cost of
Right.
pouring a pad and building a lattice.
Right,
Yep.
thank you. All right. And then, all right, next item is e-bikes. So this, oh, the pickleball court. The pickleball court was moved from one of the courts on the Lagoon Road court to the other one, or is it is moving?
It has been moved, yeah.
Okay,
So the ranch have put new lines out on the other court, and so when people reserve the courts now for pickleball, it's not the same court that they need to reserve. It's the south court.
Right. So there's and that was done for mitigation of noise for the neighbors. It's a bit more, I don't say remote, but it's not as noisy that way. It's otherwise exactly the same facility. It's just moved over. So,
Yeah.
Near Tom Price Park.
yeah, the same courts,
we were talking
same courts
about.
we were just talking about.
Yes, those people need a place to pee.
Yeah, yeah, they can pickleball, but they can't pee right now. Yes, so one of the tennis courts is striped for pickleball, and you can put a net out, and use the court for a pickleball court. But it's like a extendable net. But it works pretty well. All right, okay, now we are on to e-bikes. So I had a conversation with Chuck Hornbrook, who's the chairperson of the Tiburon Post, which is the Parks, Open Spaces and Trails Committee for Tiburon. And they have proposed to the Tiburon City Council a change to the city code, which includes regulations on e-bikes. And I believe it was part of our packet. I wanted to introduce this as new business for future discussion. Obviously, you know, the same kids who are riding through Tiburon ride through Belvedere as well. Some of them huck themselves off of the dirt trail in our park. I know all of us have probably noticed dangerous, bad activity by younger people who aren't old enough to have driver's licenses, but are instead flying around on motorized vehicles without helmets, potentially on cell phones, three-door bike. So and so I wanted to give the proposed Tiburon regulations to this committee. Jane, I think that our committee is probably the correct one to discuss the e-bikes matter, as opposed to another committee of the city council, just because it falls into Parks Recreation. Yes. 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 Right. Right. And I do think that similar to Tiburon and Mill Valley, that, you know, electric bikes are kind of a new thing. We don't have anything on the books that regulates it. We do weirdly have regulations on the book that regulate horse-drawn carriages. But actually, I'm sorry, animal-drawn vehicles. So it could be a dog car too, but we don't have anything that regulates this vehicle, which is sort of between a bicycle and a car. So
Does Belvedere have any bike lanes? I mean, a lot of what I've been reading about Tiburon is the use of multi-use trails and the conflict between people, runners, regular bikers, et cetera. I don't know that we have that infrastructure.
we do not have bike trails, which creates I mean, different problems in the sense that, you know, they're competing with cars. They're also going to be competing with pedestrians. I mean, you know, going down San Rafael Avenue, there's a bunch of places where pedestrians cross over. You know, that's sort of they're in beach, but we don't have any bike lanes.
I just quickly skimmed through this week's ARC, which has a description of the proposed new code that the committee referred to just passed and is sending on to their city council. So, I mean, I think it's useful to look at something like that so we don't, you know, reinvent the wheel.
Right.
But I also wondered, you know, if this is something that we need to involve the police chief in, because I don't know
Yes.
what our authority is for regulating what goes on in the roads. And so much of Belvedere, like I'm up in the island, there are no sidewalks, there are no, and I don't know if we're able to regulate anything up there. You know, like the Tiburon says, one is, you know, you can only ride 2 across, and on Belvedere Avenue, sometimes on a Sunday, you get a whole peloton come, so I don't think we can do that. But it also regulated other types of motorized personal use vehicles like scooters and these silent skateboards.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big topic, and I don't quite know what our authority is when it comes to the streets. I mean, we could, I assume, do something for the parks, like
Right.
what you mentioned about whether or not you can even, I mean, I hate having all these things telling kids what they can't do, but
Right.
so I don't know, you know, if we want to allow bikes. I mean, it would be something to discuss. Bikes in general and riding your bike in the park. I mean, should you have to park it, or can you ride it around like you're mountain biking?
I think it'd be nice for us to brainstorm ways to encourage good behavior and find places. If you're going to ride your bike to the park, we have a nice place to like park your bike or something like that. I know there are those things, but I just am saying from my experience, we have an e-bike. I saw the ARC article and I'm reading that. I'm like, oh man, am I class 1 or class 3? I find that stuff kind of hard to understand. So I would love when we discuss this to have a little bit more clarity with examples of what we're talking about. But our family relies on an e-bike to get it. We only have one car. I think I could not get up our hill on a normal bike with
yeah,
a
you
child.
could.
Well, with a child in the
Oh,
back that we're
yeah.
towing because we've got the cargo bike. So I love my e-bike, and but I also brought up that point around safety with kids flinging themselves in. So I think it's an interesting topic, and I just want to I wanted to share that like I view this as like it is a part of life now, and we should
Right.
do things that encourage safety, but also encourage utility at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great idea because, you know, when I look, right, right. And when I look at Belvedere, I mean, so I'm on Strava all the time, and one of the, you know, one of the common loops that people do out of, you know, either out of the city or wherever they come from is they come up the Sausalito Trail to Mill Valley. They come across, they go through Blackie's, they go down the old rail trail, and then they do a loop around Belvedere just to get their hills in, and then they go around Paradise Loop. We are, you know, we are a biking destination. There's people who bike, whether they go down San Rafael Avenue or they go up and go around Belvedere Avenue. Like there's lots and lots of bikes here, and more are people who are e-biking around. So, you know, I do not have an e-bike, but my husband has asked for one for Christmas.
I can tell them which one to get because ours is awesome. Oh, well, you probably don't need the cargo.
But it's not really it's not really the adults it's the kids who have no idea what the rules of the road
Right.
are.
Exactly. And they
You know,
don't know how to
even on
drive a
bike,
car. Right.
Sometimes they, you know, they have little bells and sometimes people ring their little bell. But I walk the dog along the bike trail all the time from, you know, go around San Rafael.
Mhm.
out,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
And you can't do it when they're going to school. It's just mayhem out there.
Yeah.
Especially if they're late.
I think
Right.
we should, I agree with the rail trail comments, and I, as a fellow cargo bike enthusiast, I agree with those as well, that they're a part of life, but I think we need to better characterize Belvedere's problem versus the problem more generally, and then liaison that with
Right.
what was reported on Wednesday in the ARC.
Right. So Mill Valley passed e-bike regulations last year. Tiburon's new regulations that are being sent to the city council are based on Mill Valley's. Because we are part of the same biking ecosystem, if you will. I mean, especially with respect to San Rafael Avenue, which doesn't have bike lanes, has a bunch of kids on it. I feel like right now there is a gap in our regulations. We don't have the same issues that Mill Valley and Tiburon do because we don't have the old rail trail. We don't have the Sausalito to Mill Valley Trail. So we don't need the same breadth and depth of what they have. But I do want our police to have the ability to ticket someone, which right now they don't.
We can certainly ask Chief Wu to join us. Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
There is a question of purview. You know, I think we could ask him to comment specifically on bikes in the parks and the lanes and how they, you know, how they're used and how he foresees, you know, any changes in regulations, how it would affect them. Yeah, and we can ask him at the next meeting to come and give us maybe an update.
That would be great. I would love
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I'm just not sure that we're the ones to regulate what
Right.
happens on the streets. I mean, we're the parks and lanes.
Right. I completely agree. I just wanted to raise it. We might not be the right people, but I wanted to raise it because I got the call from Chuck Hornbrook, who is sort of my contemporary, I guess, in Tiburon.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely a public issue of interest, but I think our focus would be limited to the parks, and we might want to discuss that again since it can come up both, well, at Tom Price Park and this park. I mean, they both are kind of inviting venues for
Yeah, and Tom
right.
Price Park is right adjacent to the rail trail, so,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, although I don't really see people riding their bikes through, I mean, maybe from the little sidewalk from the rail trail to Lagoon, but
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be an issue for this committee. I mean,
Okay.
stay off the grass or something like that.
all right, well, why
This
don't,
could be something for future items.
okay, that
Yep.
sounds good. All right, at this point, at the end of new business, I would like to ask if there's any public comment.
We've received no public comment.
Okay, great. All right, future items, we have a couple of things that are going to be, that we've already discussed to be placed on upcoming meeting agendas. Um, yeah. Thank you. Oh,
Sorry, I have a picture of all the kids and their e-bikes down
It's
here.
worth sharing.
oh,
It's, oh, I can't talk, I'm in,
oh, yeah.
I can't.
Oh, yeah.
talk, I'm in-
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I agree that it's not just e-bikes, it's also electric
These were all
scooters
the
and,
backfire
yeah, yeah.
And the kids were riding it
Oh.
all over the grass.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, see, that's the issue for our commission.
Right, yes,
oh.
yeah,
So,
Have fun, take pictures.
yeah.
yeah, I have a similar photo of them launching up into San Rafael Ave. Some part of me wonders, maybe they're doing it because that's a common meeting place. Maybe they're doing that launching because they wish they had a skate park or something, or they wish they had a play, or a slide even. No, but even if, like, I remember when I was in eighth.
Next, they'll be riding these down the slide, and then we'll be in trouble.
No, that won't
I mean,
happen.
that is part of the.
Are you kidding?
South
They'll do
Wales
it.
master plan. That's at the end, it's been proposed
To have some,
to have a bike park, and who knows
Oh,
what will happen.
exactly.
Oh, you mean Blackie's pasture or?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's been going for a while. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying there could be,
A venue for it.
yeah, there could be a way to get this energy out in a positive, constructive way, so.
Okay, all right,
Future
to
agenda.
wrap things up, here are the things, and Tony, keep me honest, that I have, that we have put on future items. Owl boxes and inviting Rebecca, the wildlife expert, to a future meeting. More investigation of, oh,
Porta potties?
more investigation of slides with a new subcommittee, as well as sort of general Centennial Park items, including potential cleanup day. More discussion of porta potties after costs are investigated. Inviting Chief Wu to a meeting to discuss e-bikes and e-vehicles and regulation and safety in our parks specifically. Follow up with Kathy on our tree survey, 2020 update, getting an app, and giving feedback to the green bins about bigger art.
I think the one addition, we were gonna get an update on the proposed species for the tree planting.
All
Oh,
right.
yes,
Yep.
thank you.
I would say the owl thing too, not only just putting in the boxes, but maybe having a Audubon joint walk through the open spaces. We can even stop at those unknown vantage points on West Shore Road and say, oh, this is a public viewing space. And we can just have people learn about the various things that we're supporting.
You mean on West Shore Road? where
Yeah,
they've
I'm sa-
already
imagine-
put all the trees in the places where we're supposed to be able to see through
Right, exactly. And oh, and here's a nesting owl, so we can't remove
on the
the
other
tree.
side.
Yeah, okay.
This committee has in the past had walking meetings.
Walkabouts, yeah.
Rather than meeting here, well, particularly if we had specific things we're considering. I mean, Centennial Park would be a good example of it.
That'd be
'cause
great.
It's helpful to be on site.
Right. I agree. All right, does anyone else have any further matters to discuss?
I have something to add, actually. So from Councilmember Jane Cooper, came an idea and a request for a new trash can on West Shore Road. And this has come sort of via the consultant for Coyotes, that there's a lot of dog walkers on that road. And so there's a lot of dog waste on that road
At-
too.
At like the far end or the end right by San Rafael?
So that hopefully people would pick up the bags, use them both directions. Is that where?
Yeah. Something to, just to discuss really, but yeah, a new trash can and a new doggy bag dispenser
On West Shore?
on West Shore, yeah.
Oh, good. That sounds,
There's that little outcropping with a bench. Is that part of city property?
Yes, and
Yes.
that's actually the exact location that
yes.
we want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a water fountain there.
There is?
I didn't notice.
Oh, wait, am I thinking of the wrong place?
Are you
It's on
thinking of San
Old-
Rafael and West Shore?
Yeah.
No, yeah, so this is further down West Shore. This is,
There's no water fountain down there.
it's probably about,
Number 61.
Oh, like where the basketball hoop is.
Well, there's several of
So,
those.
yeah.
enough indentation
Yeah.
there.
There's a bench, as Nick was saying,
Mm-hmm.
halfway down West Shore, and it's city property, and there's sort of a flat cutout area there, and I think there's an electrical, some kind of big green box thing.
it's one of those
Things like
turnouts.
that.
There's no
Yeah.
I'm
water
trying to
fountain.
figure out.
Yeah,
because
no, I was
Coyote,
thinking,
I was thinking of
San Rafael and West
there
Shore.
a lot, and it's
Water fountain.
we discussed.
Oh,
it.
right.
I thought he meant Belvedere Way, where you,
Oh.
It was an idea. Once we got the new painted bins, I thought we could repurpose one of the garbage cans that the painted bins took place.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
there always seems like there could be another garbage can at the beginning of where San Rafael Avenue meets
The Brown Boulevard.
the Tiburon Trail. I mean,
Yes.
it gets abused. I think some people put their personal garbage in, but it's
Oh,
overflowing all
on
the
San
time.
Rafael Avenue.
Yeah, I believe what happens with that is that sometimes people walking along the trail will pick up garbage as they go, and then they put it in the can at the end.
No, this is
Um,
household garbage.
Oh,
Big
yeah, okay,
bags of it.
yeah, that's different.
Both ends of San Rafael with the trail is.
At any rate, additional bins might help.
Yeah,
I think
w-
we
we
once,
can-
tr-
we
we
can
once
open it
tried
up
the
and call it-
alternative of taking away the bins, and that didn't really help.
And I might, I mean, everybody wants to go home and get dinner. But I might say for future action, maybe relocating those. When you pull in, that's the first thing you see when you enter Belvedere
Hmm.
is
Oh, that
two
bin.
overflowing bins. And I think that there's actually a decent amount of space right there where we could place them in a place that is both less visible and more pedestrian friendly.
Hmm.
I don't know about access for people emptying those. And then I do think your comment is well heard. I don't know all the use, but I do know, because I live right there, people walk on those rocks and nice neighbors pick up because most of the wind is that direction. So a lot of the trash hits right there and they pick it up on a regular basis. And then unfortunately, half of it kind of rolls back into the water.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
But I'd put placement of the bins if we're addressing that topic as a future agenda item.
yeah,
just 'cause
absolutely.
it's-
We can sort of broaden it and,
Yeah.
yeah,
all the time.
bins in general.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, our next meeting is January 18th, 2024. You can check your calendars.
Yeah, this is really just to avoid sort of having to send emails and have, trying to find a date and time that works. But
So-
this is per the charter, the third week of the,
Yeah, so I wanted to highlight that, that the Monday before that is MLK Day. So I didn't know if people were in town. I mean, we're in town, but just want to highlight that, okay? Good.
Is this happening?
All right.
If it's approved, if council approves of that date, then, you know, but we can change it. Yep.
Okay. All right. With that,
Well, I couldn't remember.
thank you very much, everyone.
Break my turn down. Back to.
We already spent all our time with trees.